the psychology, life lessons and storytelling of Tokyo Story. Now, I'm not a qualified psychologist. I actually have a degree in engineering. But I do have a natural passion for, I suppose, what you would call psychology. My mind seems to always kind of revolve around it. My main focus seems to be analysing how managing your thoughts and actions can help to improve the individual. So I decided to make a video about this topic. Now, I think that stories hold a lot of truth. Anyone who has ever created like a really compelling story has obviously observed a lot of behavioural patterns over their lifetime. And with enough experience and wisdom gained, that person can slowly develop an understanding of the causes and effects connected to certain behaviours. So these causes and effects are kind of like behavioural truths in a way. And after observing people and different behaviours over years and years, a good storyteller can kind of pour all of that knowledge and wisdom into their stories. So what I like to do is, I like to study great stories and great characters and to try and retrieve some kind of life lessons from these stories. We're going to study a film called Tokyo Story, directed by Yasujirō Ozu. And this is for anyone who kind of wants to jump deeper into the psychology of these stories and characters. Now, if you ever get that feeling of, that daily frustration, you're stuck in the daily routine of your life and just daily tasks at work, and you kind of get lost in the details and things feel like they dry up a little bit. It feels like this long dark tunnel of just frustration. Maybe you're just working harder to get a better salary or just even pay your rent. It can kind of feel like you lose sight of the really important things in life. Watching Tokyo Story can kind of go in and explode your emotions in a way and put them in full view for you to kind of sit back and look at. Well, that's kind of what it felt like to me. So when I first sat down to watch this movie, I really just wanted to explore Japanese culture more and to get to understand it from a Japanese perspective, from this famous Japanese director. And nowadays, I think we've all got very short attention spans. We're all on Instagram and Facebook and we're watching short 10-minute videos on YouTube. So all of that drama and entertainment has to be immediate and kind of on demand. So when you sit down and watch Tokyo Story, you're really watching like an art form that we seem to have lost. Because the story has a really slow build, but that long slow build is kind of necessary for that emotional impact when the full story comes together in the end. So if you don't have a lot of patience, you're going to miss out on this bigger storytelling masterpiece and the deeper life lessons that it offers, which we never really get exposed to or get access to with the short, immediate content that we're used to these days. And there's not many movies or stories out there that can actually change the way you look at life, but I definitely think that Tokyo Story could be one of them. So let's have a look at it. The first thing that strikes me when I'm watching this is that we've got this time machine. We can go and visit another culture at another time in history, and we can study their culture and we can study their lives and we can understand their motivations. It's amazing to me that we get addicted to things like Twitter, that kind of toxic battle environment, or Instagram and creating the perfect image of yourself to show to the world and getting really obsessed with that. When sitting right here is an actual time machine to another culture that we can go in and we can learn, get these life lessons from. It's like we all just got to start learning to get obsessed with like healthier things in life. Things that expand your mind and understanding of the world. So I think this movie was set at a time when all around the world, because of the Industrial Revolution, the younger generations were moving more and more into the cities to find better work opportunities. So life in the countryside was changing a lot, and I think it must have been pretty difficult for the parents to watch their kids moving away and moving to the cities. So you can see in the scene how happy and excited the parents are about going to see their kids in Tokyo. And the idea is that surely the kids are really happy about their parents coming as well. And what gets me is that these parents are getting older and it's not that easy to travel all the way into Tokyo alone like that, but these parents are going to do it because they're so happy to go and see their kids. And when the parents arrive at the son's house in Tokyo, it's very interesting to see the different ways that people behave in this kind of situation. Fumiko, the son's wife, seems to show a genuine interest in the parents, and there's a definite kind of warm feeling that she gives. The parents also had a son named Shoji, who is presumed to have died in World War II, and he left behind a widow named Noriko. Now, Noriko seems to be the most genuine of all the characters. She seems to have the biggest heart. She gives the warmest feeling to the parents when they arrive. And Fumiko and Noriko aren't even direct relatives, but they seem to give the warmest welcome. The kids are just kids. They don't seem to be too bothered that their grandparents are coming to see them. The interesting behavior seems to come from the parents' eldest son and eldest daughter, Koichi and Shige. The director presents the situation in a very realistic way because the eldest son and the eldest daughter still go through the formalities of welcoming the parents to their home. You know, it's not exactly rude. You know, it's still just good, typical Japanese hospitality. But you can kind of detect a feeling that this just really feels like an obligation to them. The son is a pediatrician, you know, so he's a very busy guy with maybe a very demanding job. So you can kind of see that in his behavior, and just the way he kind of looks out the window in a very disinterested way kind of gives you the feeling that he doesn't really want to be there. Maybe that's reading into things too much, but you see more of these hints later. We also don't see the eldest son and eldest daughter bow to their parents, but we do see Fumiko here bowing all the way down and showing a lot of respect. Fumiko seems very curious and interested in the parents, and she asks them a lot of questions, so it's a good sign of respect. I think it's a very good sign of character when you see someone who is able to ask questions and to listen to other people talk about their lives. I think it's a very strong skill to have, to be able to just be okay with being quiet and asking questions and listening and finding out about other people's lives in a genuine, kind of warm and friendly way. You see Tommy, the grandmother, offering her eldest son a present, and she kind of bows down to do it, but he seems very dismissive and it's kind of like, just give it to me later. Later, you see them talking about preparing some dinner for the grandparents, some sukiyaki with meat. Fumiko brings up the idea of offering some sashimi as well, but the eldest son just kind of says that no, the meat's enough. Even though the eldest daughter brings up the fact that there's a lot of sashimi to go around. You just get the feeling and the sense that the eldest son is just not going to go out of his way to really make the parents feel welcome. So just contrast this with the image in your mind of the grandparents being really happy and really excited about traveling all the way into Tokyo City, this huge, big, massive city, taking the long journey on their own to go and see their kids. I think it's really interesting to try and put yourself in each person's shoes and to try and understand their motivations. So for the eldest son, he's probably got a very strong goal in his mind of becoming successful in Tokyo. He works in medicine, so he's got a respected job, but it's probably a very demanding and very competitive job. So just imagine him as a kid, living in the countryside in Japan. He probably had this huge big dream of moving to the big city, moving to Tokyo and becoming successful and becoming a doctor. He wanted to live the life. Now, having a goal or a dream like that is probably one of the healthiest things you can do. It means you're moving forward. You can see the job you want. You can see the life you want. You want to be independent. You want to move to the city. So it kind of pushes you forward in life. But it's not worth it if the dream and chasing that goal consumes you totally. I get the feeling that the pressure of the eldest son's job has probably totally consumed his mental energy, and he just doesn't have the mental space or energy left over to think about other things. Life can become all about work, and with the free time that you have, you can only chase simple pleasures like good food, going to nice restaurants, or maybe going on small holidays. But I suspect that a lot of people in this situation can really feel like this deep void in their life, like they're lacking some sort of deeper feeling and meaning. They can never really jump into that deeper kind of meaning area of their mind because they're just totally consumed with work, and when you're not working, you're kind of chasing simple pleasures like good restaurants and going on holidays, or watching TV series, or just going on social media. The goal of becoming successful can dominate your mind. So that's why I think you can see the eldest son treating his parents in such a disinterested way. Because treating his parents well might not fit into the big plan that he has for his life. His mind could be dominated by one idea, it's just hard work, making money, and that's it. But I suspect that a lot of people who live their life like this, later on in life get hit with a huge amount of regret because they think back to the way they treated their parents. Some people might not, but I get the feeling that a lot of people do. And when you live with that thought for years and years, I get the feeling that you can start to hate yourself, and you might not say it, but you'll definitely know it. And I think a lot of people turn to things like alcohol, because you hate yourself, you want to destroy yourself. So I think there's a lesson to learn from this, and there's a solution to it. You can't let one idea dominate your mind. You can't just have one dominant goal in your mind. You gotta slowly build a balanced set of goals for your life. One great goal is finding a good job and being really good at your job and becoming successful and, making good money and finding a good place to live. But another goal in life surely has to be being a good person. It's like you gotta learn to balance a few different goals in your mind. If the eldest son had a goal in life of being a good person, he definitely would have gone out of his way to make sure his parents had a great experience. Another good goal to have in life is being healthy. So it's just my opinion, but I think that becoming successful is a great goal to have, but you really gotta balance it with having the goal of being a good person and being healthy. To me, that's the very subtle lesson of this movie. As for the eldest daughter, I can't really judge too well why she's behaving so indifferently. But there could be another way to look at this. The behavior from these two siblings could actually be a reflection of poor parenting from these two parents who came to visit. Maybe they have terrible memories of when they were growing up, and maybe they're holding on to grudges. If that's the case, then the parents are paying a big price for it now. The fact is that we don't really know the full story, but these two parents just seem to be like two really warm, friendly, genuine people, and it just seems like a shame that their kids treat them so badly. Anyway, let's go back to the story. In the next scene, you can see what a big heart Noriko has. You can see how much attention she gives to the parents. And remember that Noriko is the widow of these two parents' son who died in the war.
でもなんやら夢見たようなやっぱり長生きはするもんじゃのうでもお父様お母様ちょっともお変わりになりませんわ変わりゃんしたよしっかりもう年を取ってしもうてのう
And then contrast that with the behavior of the eldest daughter who tells some weird story about her mother being fat when she was young.
お母さんまた少し大きくなったんじゃないかしら
なんぼなんでももう育ちゃうせんで
本当よ太ったのかしら私たち子供の自分ずいぶん大きなお母さんだと思って学校へなんか来ると恥ずかしくてね
まあ
いつか学芸会の時椅子壊しちゃったのよ嘘よありゃ椅子が壊れとったんじゃんお母さんまだそう思うとってそうでさまあいいわよ行きましょう
She could just be trying to joke around, but it's a really strange story to tell especially when your mother has traveled all the way just to come and see you. Like, banter and joking around is good, but if there's no underlying good feeling, then it doesn't really work. And later, you see the eldest son sitting with his parents, but it seems like he's kind of getting bored, and he asked them a question, but it kind of seems like more of a request.
お母さんどうです？お休みになったら。
え
じゃあ寝させてもらおうか。
え、ええ。
じゃあおやすみ。おやすみなさい。
You know, the air is kind of filled with this awkward feeling.
おやすみ。
おやすみなさい。
Just before they go to bed, you can see that the mother and father are deep in thought about all of this.
疲れなさったでしょう。
いや
でもみんな元気で。
そう来たの。
I don't know what it is, but the eldest daughter really seems to have a lot of contempt for her parents, because you can see here how disinterested she is about their visit.
お父さんお母さんいつまでいるんだい東京。
4、5日いるでしょ。それ取って。
挨拶に行かなくていいかね。
いいわよ。どっちみちうちへも来るわよ。
そしたら金車亭でも案内するかな。
いいことよ。余計な心配しなくたって。
Her husband seems a little disinterested too.
今日どうするんだいお父さんお母さん。
兄さんはどっか連れてくでしょ。
そうかい。じゃあいいな。
So you can see the parents getting ready in the morning because the eldest son is going to take them out sightseeing for the day. But then the eldest son gets the message that one of his patients isn't doing so well, so he needs to cancel the day out with his parents and then go and see the patient.
まだ食欲出ませんか。
はあ、何ですか。冷たいものばかり飲みたがるんですが、やっても飲みませんし。
熱も下がりませんか。
はあ、さっき測りましたら、やっぱり9度8分で。
そうですか。いや伺いましょう。
Which is fair enough, I mean, you can't really fault them for it. And the parents take it pretty well, I mean, it's just a fact of life.
があって、急に出かけなきゃならないんですがね。
そ
どうもせっかく。
う。いや構わんよ。
ひょっとすると、すぐ帰れないかもしれないんですが。
ああいいよ。
And you can see the reaction from the eldest son's kids when they hear that they can't go sightseeing for the day.
母さん行かないの？つまんねえの？だってしょうがないじゃないの。患者さんがあるんだもん。何？
また今度な。
何になる？あっち行ってらっしゃい。何ね嘘つき。あっち行ってらっしゃい。
You get the sense that things within the family are a little chaotic. It's really great to see the grandparents' reaction to it though.
本当にしょうがあります。
いや男の子は元気な方がええよ。
But it's really interesting to think about how this kind of family situation can come about. The mother of the two kids seems to be a really good person, but the father seems to be the kind of guy who likes to exert a lot of control. Now the worst thing about this is that he has a lot of control, but his psychology seems to be off. If he was well balanced psychologically, then you wouldn't see him treating his parents so badly as you do later on. So to me, what you think about internally eventually comes out in your behavior, in your actions. So it seems like the father is setting a bad example for his kids through his behavior and his actions. The kids constantly observe this behavior over years. They might be getting this constant visual and experiential input of negative behavior. And memories constitute the contents of your mind. The memories are kind of like Lego blocks that you have to play around with to try and make sense of things. So if the contents of the kids' minds are only memories of negative behavior from the father, then those memories are going to develop certain thinking patterns. And if those thinking patterns are allowed to develop over years and years, eventually those thoughts are going to come out as behavior and actions. So you can really see that in the kids' behavior.
急に声ができたんだからしょうがないじゃないの。しょうがなかねえ。バカね。いつまでグズグズ言ってんの。何や何や。
This is a weird example and going off on a tangent a little bit, but I remember one song by Nirvana, you know, and just at one moment Kurt Cobain kind of just screams. to me, this is the contents of your mind coming out in your behavior. It's like he's got some really dark thoughts and dark memories swirling around in his mind, and at one moment he's trying to get them out. So you could say the good thing at least is that he's trying to channel that energy through something productive, through music. But obviously for other people it comes out in really negative actions. If you want to see that moment, it's a song called Drain You by Nirvana at a show called Live and Loud in 1993. You gotta go to about 1 minute 20 in the song where they finished singing the chorus, and then it goes into this really slow, long instrumental, but towards the end it builds and builds, and he just kind of explodes in anger at the end. And for me it's just pretty chilling to watch for some reason. But for me, the lesson to learn from this is that you always have the chance to save yourself, because in the very end you always have the ultimate control of your thoughts. Your thoughts are one thing in life that you have total control over. Well, maybe not total control, because your thoughts seem to stream from your unconscious. I mean, relative to most things in life, it seems like the easiest thing that you can get control of. Like, nobody else is going to think your thoughts for you. You got to do that. So as long as you can get control of your thoughts, you can push your thoughts from negative to positive thinking, and you can develop those positive thinking patterns. And when you develop positive, constructive thinking patterns for long enough, you get a lot of momentum with that. And then eventually that flows out as good behavior and good actions. So I suppose for every person, the battle really begins with getting control of the thoughts and not allowing them to go in a negative direction, and wrestling them away from the negative and pushing them towards the positive. And then you can't just think positively and expect your life to change. You gotta take action. So to me, that is what the father failed to do really. He failed to get control of his thoughts. And then the real world result is this chaotic situation in the family. It's really just a domino effect. Like, his thoughts came out in his behavior, the kids were watching that behavior, that developed their thoughts, and now it's coming out in their behavior. So it just shows you how important managing your thoughts is, because you can create your own domino effect in life with the people around you. Anyway, let's go back to the story. So the kids are really upset, and Tommy, the grandmother, decides to take one of them out to try and cheer him up.
イサムちゃん、あんた大きくなったら何になるん？あんたもお父さんみたいにお医者さんか？あんたがのお医者さんになる子らおばあちゃんおるかの？
So you can see that the grandmother is in this really deep, contemplative space in her mind, and she's thinking about getting older, and she gets the sense that life is passing by her. The contrast between the emotion that you can see she's going through and the way her kids are treating her is the thing that really seems to just punch you in the stomach with this movie. And these stories are full of archetypes. I mean, this kind of stuff really happens in life. So you really got to pay attention to good stories like this, because it really shows you what to do and what not to do. Be like Fumiko and Noriko. Don't be like the eldest son and oldest daughter. You can see that Shukichi, the grandfather, is also really deep in thought. He's contemplating a lot of things about life at the moment.